All right, hey guys, today we're going to talk about a call for change. So, the founding fathers are going to get together here and they're going to talk about what to do about this old Articles of Confederation deal and how to fix things. So, the central questions say, how is compromise used to write the new United States Constitution? And in what way is compromise a sign of democracy? All right, so here we go. It says many American leaders were worried. They believed the U.S. would not survive without a strong central government. These folks become known as nationalists. Think about the national government, the whole nation as one. They thought we should have a national government. A synonym for that is federal government. So they mean the same, national and federal. And they thought, hey, we have to have a stronger government to deal with the issues that we've had to deal with because our Articles of Confederation were too weak. Now, the flip side of this is you've got some people who think that the government should not be this strong and should not have a central location and all that. And the states should make more decisions. And so you're going to see that there's a divide. But right now we're just going to talk about those who think, hey, this government, the Articles of Confederation is too weak. We need something a lot stronger. So these nationalist examples are George Washington. He believed we needed a stronger government. John Adams, Ben Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison. Now I have some pictures of these guys. They're not necessarily all listed here, but you'll get the idea of who's who, hopefully. All right, so here's George Washington as a nationalist. John Adams as a nationalist. He was a nationalist. My man James Madison, he's my favorite. I'll come back to him in a little bit. Alexander Hamilton is a nationalist. Interesting character. So we'll talk more about him. Here's Ben Franklin. He's a nationalist. Now, this is just a picture of different major founding father figures. Thomas Jefferson is not a nationalist. So don't get that confused because I have his picture in with all these. It was just the easiest way to show you. He's not a nationalist. But these guys, Washington, Hamilton, Franklin, Adams, Madison, are nationalists. One way you can remember Jefferson is not is that he and Hamilton do not agree on anything politically. Okay, so he's the opposite of the rest of these guys who are nationalists. Okay, so they feel like let's have a stronger government. If you recall before, one of the reasons why the Articles was so weak is because they did not want a king, a monarch, someone to take over. So Madison wants to call a convention to discuss the problems with trade, taxes, other issues that we've seen come up through the Articles of Confederation. So you see, Madison kind of takes on a leadership role here. Since only a few delegates show up, so they decide, okay, we're going to give folks more time. Remember, they don't have email or Twitter or any way to announce these, so everything's by letter. So they decide, all right, we'll set up a convention in Philadelphia, the capital, in May 1787. All right, so here's the convention. The summer of 1787, these giants, if you will, of this time period, politically, most powerful men, are going to come together. They're going to make some decisions in Philadelphia. So 55 delegates are going to show up. All backgrounds. Now there's a small number, 2 out of the 55, that are not very wealthy. But most of them are going to be wealthy. Most of them are going to have some kind of political background. State governors, 8 signers of the Declaration of Independence are going to show up. The presiding officer of this meeting will be our very own George Washington. So you see his leadership again here. Who kept the records of the meeting will be Madison. Now, spoiler alert, Madison's the one that's going to write the majority of the Constitution once this committee gets together, this Constitutional Convention, and make some decisions. So it's easy to remember, therefore, that he kind of keeps the notes. Okay, some other pictures. Here's one of the Constitutional Convention meeting here in Philadelphia. So they're all getting together and meeting. This one happens to be Ben Franklin right here. So they're going to meet and discuss what are we going to do. Not everyone shows up. I'll go more into this later, but as far as individuals, Thomas Jefferson doesn't come. He is in France at the time, and he makes certain comments about these guys who are here, not really caring for that and the fact that they really think they're something because they're rewriting this Constitution. So he didn't really care for what was happening. Remember, he's not a nationalist. So there's other people who are unable to attend. But of these 55, they're going to come up with some pretty cool decisions. All right, it says the meetings were held in secret. Every state was represented, and all those states except for Rhode Island. And I've got why not Rhode Island? Well, Rhode Island geographically and by population was one of the smallest states. And they actually did not have a problem with the Articles of Confederation. They thought that they were just fine with the Articles of Confederation because it actually helped support states' rights, state government. It was just smaller, and you don't have that oppressing federal government. So they thought if they went along with a new constitution, which did away with a lot of state decisions and added a federal government with a lot of power, that they would lose their power. So they are going to pretty much boycott the Constitutional Convention. And this is a little slide, shows you that. See, here they are, how small they are, Rhode Island. There's the state. Here it is in a lot larger area, just to show you towns and things. But it says they don't send a representative because they think they're going to lose their state's rights. And because the government's going to be so big and they're so small that they will lose a lot of their power. Okay, so the convention's happening here in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, but the Rhode Island folks do not show up. All right, so the decision was made by the folks at this convention. Remember, here they are again. The decision was made that the articles are just way too weak, and something needs to be done to fix that. And they start brainstorming and eventually come to the conclusion, let's just throw away the articles and let's rewrite a new government, and we will call it the United States Constitution. Okay, and that's what's right here. All right, so then you have the questions of the very basics. If we're going to rewrite our government, how are we going to elect representatives? What's that going to look like? We have a Congress already. Remember, we had that in the Articles of Confederation. They decided to keep that, but they're not sure how they should set it up. So should it be one house, just one chamber where everyone meets in one room? Should it be two houses, two chambers, like two different rooms, and one passes laws and then it has to go to the other to pass? Should both of these houses be, each state gets one representative? Should it be each state's based on representation is based on their population? That would give the larger states kind of a boost. How should it be determined? So they come up with these plans. Okay, and these are just proposals. Remember, we're just brainstorming here, so we're just throwing out ideas. The first brainstorm is the Virginia Plan, written by my man Madison here. And Madison says, hey, let's have two houses, okay, two rooms where laws are made, and one maybe has to go through the other to get the laws passed. So one will pass laws, pass it on to the next. Once a law has passed both houses, it's a law. So that's the idea. He's going to say both of these should be based on population. Now, I want to take you back to this map. I mean, it's not the best, but it'll prove the point with Rhode Island. As you can see, here is Virginia. And here, teeny tiny, is Rhode Island. So, obviously, just geographically, Virginia's larger. Therefore, I think it was common sense to say it's going to have more people in it, even during this time, than, say, a Rhode Island. So, Virginia is, their plan through Madison is going to say, hey, we should have everything based on population because we're a really large state and that's what we want, large in population. And he's also going to say we want 3 branches of government. Now, this is where he gets this idea of separation of powers. If you recall Montesquieu, who Madison is genius, okay, very, very well read. So he's going to be a bachelor for many years, and I'll tell you why that is in a minute. And he's going to read a whole lot. And so he will read these former Enlightenment philosophers, and he will come up with the idea of let's adopt the separation of powers idea. Also, obviously, this is favored by the more populous state. Now, New Jersey at that time is going to be a very small populated state at this time. Not today, but at this time. So they're going to come up with a plan that says, let's only have one house and let's let every state have equal reps. So each state will get like one representative. That one guy will vote for that one state. Whatever the people want in that one state, that one guy will vote for that. So one vote per state. Obviously, the smaller states like a Rhode Island, if they had shown up, would have liked this idea. Okay? All right, and then it says when the small and large populated states could not agree, because Virginia said, we want what we want, and the New Jersey people said, no, 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 it needs to be everything equal, not based on population. Then this gentleman steps up to the plate, Ben Franklin, and he's the oldest member at the convention, and he's going to, with that, carry a lot of weight, literally and figuratively. And so he's going to say, hey, I propose that we come up with a committee that will pretty much come up with a compromise. So let's get some people together in a room and they can come up with a solution that negotiates both of these ideas, Virginia and New Jersey. And voila, that's what happens. And they come up with the Great Compromise. It's called the Connecticut Compromise. Roger Sherman's the one that proposes it, but I always refer to it as the Great Compromise. It's so great, we still have it today. So this is straight up civics right here, people. All right, so this is what we have today, a Senate and a House, two houses. One, the Senate is everything's equal, so each state in this case gets 2 senators per state. All right, 50 states, 2 times 50 is 100, so there's 100 current U.S. senators. House of Representatives is based on population. So if you gain more citizens in your state, for every so many citizens you gain, then you will add a representative, and that's going to change over time too. I didn't say the current number because I don't want to confuse you with how they set it up now, but basically you need to know Senate and House, 2 houses, one based on population, that's the House of Reps, one equal, that's the Senate. Okay, so they will come up with those plans. Here is a great example of that. Virginia plan, New Jersey plan. So Virginia bicameral, 2 houses, bi meaning 2 like bicycle, 2 wheels, 2 house legislature. Virginia wanted everything based on population. New Jersey unicameral, uni meaning 1, like unicycle, 1 wheel, 1 house. Each state gets 1 vote. What they did agree on was a 3-branch system of government, okay? Like a president, a court system, and a legislative branch. All right, the compromise right here, the House, each state would be based on population, and in the Senate, each state would get 2 senators, which satisfied the New Jersey plan. The House of Representatives satisfied the Virginia plan. Both houses must pass every law. So the Senate can't just pass something that the House doesn't get to have their hands on. Okay, how would slaves count? So, here's the big issue, 3/5 compromise. So they come up with a compromise. Insanity, but it is what it is. For every 5 slaves, you would only count 3 in your population. Why? The North said, no, the South shouldn't count any of their slaves. They mistreat them, you know, so on and so forth. This will be the eventual argument anyway. And so it's not fair. They have so many slaves, much more than we do. It's not fair. The South's going to say, yes, 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 we want to count our slaves toward our population because they knew that would help with their representatives because they have a lot of slaves. So the compromise is for every 5 slaves, only 3 would count towards representation. It says it's going to take 4 months to write the Constitution. My man James Madison will be known as the father of the Constitution and be the main writer. You have to have 9 out of 13 states to approve or ratify this Constitution, so you got to get 9 out of the 13 to agree to approve it. One last thing about my man Madison. Here is a closer up picture of him, the father of the Constitution and writer. One more, his height, he was only 5'4". Sad day for him. So he's one of the shortest president, he will later be president, ever. Right now, just the father of the Constitution.